I remember telling stories about Bruce, whether or not he was wearing clothes that one day because he was bent down. He had the Daisy Dukes on,
Yeah.
no shirt. He was like 40 something when he
Yeah.
started his apprenticeship. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I want to welcome everybody to the Make Trades Great Again podcast. Hey, guys, don't forget, if you're listening to this, you can watch us on YouTube. That's at Mechanical Hub YouTube channel. And then, of course, hit us up in the DMs over on Instagram if you got any questions or feedback. And finally, in your podcast streaming app, you can text us, send us a message directly. Tell us you just hate that I've lost my voice and I sounded like crap for 3, 4, 5 episodes, but it's getting better. I haven't choked yet in the start of this recording, which I did just the other day.
It's a new day.
All right.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Hopefully that's it. I know it's not, but I'm hoping it is. Andy, something came up the other day.
Yeah.
I had somebody ask me a question and it got me thinking. I think we may have talked about this in the past, but it's been a while, at the very least. It's that time of year, you get the graduations are coming, things like that. And you think all these kids graduating high school, we know that there's a trend, at least in the most recent, handful of years, that there's a trend that the trades are becoming more popular.
Sure.
Kids leaving high school. And that is awesome. There's a lot of reasons that go into that. We don't have to really get into it. But I had, on that trend, what would you tell an 18-year-old to join the trades? Heck yeah, I would if it's the right person. I'd love to have those kinds of conversations. I've had many of them. You too, I'm sure.
Yep.
This conversation though, this question that came up to me the other day was by somebody not exiting high school. Somebody that actually, believe it or not, I believe was teaching at one point in time, maybe even high school.
Okay.
This person says, would you hire somebody that has zero experience in the trades? And that question alone, yeah, of course. I mean, that's called an apprentice, right?
Right.
But then the second half of the question is and they're in their 30s. And that was like, well, I mean, I guess the answer should be yes. It should be obvious, but it made me pause for a second. So I wondered what you had to think about that.
I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, I guess I'm going to preface it by it's going to kind of depend, right?
Sure.
It depends on, I guess I would want to know the reasons why the 30-year-old was looking to change, right?
Yeah.
Is the 30-year-old someone who's been kind of just bumping along through life, trying all kinds of things and never really been ultimately satisfied with what they were doing?
Okay.
To the point where I may be just the next bump in the road.
Okay.
I'm not looking for that in an apprentice or a new employee, if that makes sense.
That's a tough one. I'm going to come back to that one. But keep going.
But it's tough. But I also feel like if you're getting into this trade, right? I want this particular prospective applicant to have a genuine interest in doing this for a long period of time. Right?
Yeah. What do you think motivates people to do something like decide this is going to be a career? Like that's not something you can really decide. Maybe this is my opinion, but I don't think that's something you can decide like without having the experience with it though.
Right. But but I guess I would say that I would like to see that. And you wouldn't get that from a 17-year-old. So I guess I'll counter my own self there.
No, I think I know what you're saying. You hope that this person you're going to hire is looking at this, at least not like, it's not approaching it as it may be temporary.
Right.
Or this is just what I'm going to do for now. Is that what you're saying? You're hoping that this is something that they stick around.
Yeah. I mean, I would.
But of course, acknowledging that maybe they can't make that decision right away.
I had a number of people that I worked with, as an apprentice that were in their 30s, starting their apprenticeship. We every time we do a JATC interview of apprentice applicants, we always have one or two that are, I'm going to say mid-20s to 30s.
That's why I think we've talked about this, or at least it's come up in other discussions in the past, is because of your connection with the apprenticeship program, in the committee. I want to go back to not satisfied, like that person that's gone through life, you know, maybe they're in their 30s now and they've done like a million different things. They've worked at the restaurants. They tried framing houses with their cousin's neighbor, and then they, you know, worked for Amazon in between working delivering DoorDash. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're among us, and they're all over the place, and they're actually the kind of people that help keep everything moving, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we need somebody that goes into those jobs that maybe don't have a career potential, and it's just, you know, like a job. I've met so many people like that. I know people that are in their 50s that seem like I only see them maybe once or twice every couple of years, and it seems like they have a new job since the last time, or I just can't keep track of it, right?
Right.
You know, we talk about somebody that's like 18, 19. They haven't had that track record, but they have every potential to go through life that way starting out, right? Unless maybe they find the right thing for them right away.
Yep.
I think it's so easy to say. This is not going to be gushy or anything. It sounds stupid and cliche, but like I was so lucky to find this career, like when I did, because dropping out of college, I knew that wasn't for me at the time. I was a smart kid, everything like that. I had work ethic. I knew I could do something, but I didn't know it was going to be this.
Right.
And at the time, of course, and then I tried it and I'm like, wow, this is really interesting to me.
That's
and
cool.
It's satisfying. Yeah. But not everybody has that experience.
Yeah. No.
And if you're talking to somebody in their 30s, I guess you could have that same experience when you're 30 as you could when you're 20, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'll bring it back to you. If you had you're trying to hire right now.
Yep.
And you've been trying to hire for a while, and it's proven to be difficult.
Yep.
In years past, it was difficult, at least not impossible, but challenging.
Yep.
If you had somebody come to you today, well, first of all, I should say this. I should ask you, because I can't speak for you. Mm-hmm. Are you looking to hire an apprentice?
Not right at the moment. And so, right at the moment, I would be like, you know, in partly on the basis, if I had another journeyman right now, that could potentially change, right? Yeah. Where I could bounce that new green guy off of 2 or 3 people, right? You know, then it's easier to find a place for them, because a lot of service work isn't 2-man work. I mean, we have a lot of 2-man jobs.
Right. And you're going to soon to be short one truck on the road, which is likely to get you out of the office a little bit more until things change for you, if they don't beforehand. And so bringing on an apprentice, like you're saying, almost is going to force you to be their trainer in a sense.
And that's not a bad thing. And I, you know, I took that role with Tristan. I took that role with Miles. I took that role with Rob. You know, we all of them have done really well at picking up on those tasks, and now I feel like, you know, I can pretty much send all 3 of those guys anywhere that I need them to go, and have a general understanding of. I have you know, the training thing is a two-sided, right? I know what I've taught them to some degree, that, hey, they understand this, they can do it. But I also understand what they're good at, right? Where their strong points are at.
Yeah.
And I'm of the mindset that I'm going to, let's say that Tristan is, well, let's change this. This morning, we're going to do a kitchen sink swap out, right?
Yeah.
So we got a Formica countertop, cast iron drop-in sink, and we're putting a new cast iron drop-in sink in it. Right?
I love a cast iron kitchen sink, personally.
Yeah. Okay, so you've swapped a few of those out in your day.
Oh, yeah.
Drop-ins,
they weigh 1,000 pounds, and it's kind of a super.
How many countertops have you ruined?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay, so here's where I'm at. It's happened.
You mean when it stuck because silicone or caulking and it peels the fiber?
And it's made laminate. It basically, you know, some through metamorphosis turned into epoxy.
Exactly. fully cured, UV cured epoxy cement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Miles has never done that, right? Has Miles
Mhm.
installed the kitchen sink? Absolutely.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
dropping cast irons aren't
No, it's
these
not.
days.
It's not easy.
So he hasn't been doing it long enough,
right.
really.
So this morning, because Cheryl's like, we were talking about it, a week or so ago when we got the call that, hey, everything is, in for that job. She goes, can Miles do that? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then I went, wait a minute. That's, you know what? I probably need to go with him. Right. I love sending my crew out to do random new stuff that they're unsure of. Right. You learn the absolute most when your feet are near the fire. Right. You don't learn so much when you're standing in the fire.
Yeah. You know what? That's this specific task.
Yeah.
Let's break it down for a second. It doesn't
Yeah.
warrant too much more than this, but this is so the reason you want to go is because not because you can ruin the countertop.
Yeah.
It's because you have done it, as I have as well,
Right.
and you didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
You don't know until you know.
Until you hear that pop and you're like,
yeah. And so that's why you need to be there.
Yeah.
And you know what? Can I remind you of something that isn't going to be like super awesome as a friend?
Yeah.
It could still happen to you. You know that, right?
Okay.
You're going to go in there, you're like,
Yeah.
this is how you do it. And then pop, and it peels a big potato chip out of the side of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So been there, done that. And so that's the thing, so with the apprentice, or less experienced, tech working for you, you do get that, feeling of, what are they really good at? Where do their skills lack? And I, like I mentioned, I like to let my guys stand next to the fire, maybe even really close to the fire, right? Because they learn a lot about the tasks that we're doing. They remember the most when they struggle to learn the concept, right?
Yep.
That you learn the most at that high pressure point. You don't learn the most when you fail repeatedly. Does that make sense? Like, I don't feel like that is a great learning environment when you're constantly not succeeding. That's not a great learning point.
Yeah,
when you're,
I know what you mean.
So I as an apprentice, very first day on the job, as a service tech, got to go change out a water heater. Right. I'd installed several water heaters, but I'd
This
never.
is your first day?
Well, on my first day as a service technician.
Okay.
So I was maybe a third year apprentice at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was gonna say, how does this fit into all the stories we've shared?
Right. No.
Now I get. I was just misunderstanding.
Right. I'd installed several water heaters, but I'd never changed one by myself. Right.
Yeah, you hadn't showed up with it in the back of the van. You're gonna pull out the old, put the new. Yeah. I get it.
I remember my boss at the time. She says, "Well, we're going to kind of throw you to the wolves. You're going to go over and see old Gwen. Gwen Watkins is the customer."
It's funny how you remember this.
I don't know why I remember this. I do know why I remember this. I show up. I've never met this guy before, right? Because I'm new to service. Why would I know him? Right? He's a staple of the Missoula community.
Of course.
Right. He's owned a.
Why wouldn't they send in a green apprentice?
Right.
An inexperienced apprentice to this guy. Why wouldn't this? Seems totally logical.
Yeah. The Watkins family owned, like, we used to be called the 93 Stop and Go, like his iconic Missoula drive-through.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So the Watkins family, whatever, they owned that and a whole bunch of other businesses around town.
Yeah. They probably owned the Dairy Queen across town or something.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, so I go to Gwen. Gwen can't see. Gwen's blind.
Oh, this story is getting better.
Yeah. And so I show up and I recognize that Gwen isn't like walking with a cane, but he really, I don't know if he can't see at all or he's like, I don't know.
He's just memorized everything in his house, so he's good.
So he's like, "I'll show you where the water heater's at." And I'm like, following this guy. I'm like, I don't think this guy's
drunk.
Right. Like, I'm thinking, whatever. So anyway, we go downstairs and here's this 50-gallon A.O. Smith water heater, whatever, hard piped in, soldered, a couple of copper 90s, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, perfect. I got this, I'm confident, start draining the water heater down, and I get all the new connections, literally just turned the torch off, and he's a toucher. And I'm like trying to like, no, that, that's hot. Don't, it's just weird to me because I'm like, what the heck is this guy doing? And there was an issue. I don't even remember what it was. Dielectric union leaking or something, some sort of problem. Because, my infancy in my career, I'm like, code says I have dielectric unions on here. So I better put an EPCode dielectric union on each side and ball valves on both sides and all that.
You're going all out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
4G
commercial
4G going. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Commercial style, install in a house.
Yep.
And, I struggled with some stuff, I don't even remember what the struggle was, but I just remember that appointment. And I remember going back to the office being like, dude, they freaking screwed me, sending me to this crazy ass dude's house.
Yeah.
And after all that time, I remember now going, it wasn't that big a deal, and I just, there are certain memories that you pick up and go, well, I did that one water heater with the blind guy.
Yeah.
That was trying to touch everything I was doing, and you just kind of go, well,
blind guy.
But you never forget that, right? You remember the technique that you use, the whatever. That was 25 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do I remember Gwen Watkins? I don't know. I mean, whatever.
It's funny. You think about the Green Apprentice, you think about the, hiring apprentice at all. And then you think about the 30-year-old apprentice. And I don't know why the 30-year-old, the whole thing, the 30-year-old thing came literally from the beginning of this whole podcast. Yeah. This person brought it up. I'm not stuck on it. The person being in the 30s. The same question could be asked if they're in late 20s or, I don't know, whatever. That's not necessarily the point. I guess if you go on that whole, if you're hung up on the age thing, we think about apprentices, we think about an older apprentice, which we've both talked about in the past. I remember telling stories about Bruce, whether or not he was wearing clothes that one day because he was bent down. He had the Daisy Dukes on, no shirt. He was like 40 something when he started his apprenticeship, and I was an apprentice at the same time or shortly out of my apprenticeship, maybe. And here's this guy twice my age coming in, right? Okay. The thing about apprentices, though, is there's, we're not paying an apprentice the same wage as a experienced person. And as they progress through their apprenticeship, they tend to get paid more, maybe annually, that kind of thing, based off their experience. Or if you're in a union, it's regimented, like this is what you get year 1, year 2, and it's percentage of the overall. I guess the next question I have with that setup is it a good idea for somebody in their 30s to enter this trade knowing they're going to make probably less than most people their age are already making? You know what I mean? Like there's probably going to be a pay cut. And I guess that's an individual person's decision to make, but, just kind of framing it out there based off this discussion is, if you're 30, do you want to start over? And maybe you really do. Maybe you think you're really going to love it.
Maybe at 30 you need that. Maybe at 35 you need that. Hey, I need a hard reset. We're gonna go do something new. I'm gonna learn something new. If somebody's at that point, I don't have any issue with it at all. If somebody walked into my shop and they were like, "Hey, I'm 30 years old and I'm looking for something new, and I see you have an ad for an apprentice. I'd like to give that a shot, and I don't know that I would have any issue with that." The beauty of hiring somebody that's 30 is so long as their resume isn't like the dictionary, or
there wasn't a 5-year block of time they can't account for.
Yeah. Right. you know, there's
you shouldn't. That isn't a disqualification, by the way.
I can't.
I don't want somebody. Well, but I also don't want somebody to think that I think that way. I'm joking.
I know.
It was a joke. I don't mean that. I think that anybody deserves a good job.
Right. But I think that 30-year-old comes with experiences that have value. That, you know what, a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old doesn't have those. Right? Do I think
with people better, you know, just more mature?
Yep.
Basically, is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Maturity through experience. They're a little bit older.
Yep.
Probably, there's a likelihood they may be more willing to listen more than they talk, or
maybe a little calmer in the fly off at the handle.
I was a different person at 30 than I was at 20. There's no
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll just speak for myself. Yeah, it was an interesting question. It got brought up. I thought, in the moment as I'm hooking up a water heater, believe it or not.
Was he blind?
No, wasn't blind. Wasn't a blind guy. It just, was putting this water heater in, customer was kind of popping in and out. I don't know that they were hovering. Maybe they were. I didn't notice it, so that's fine. But, conversation started up and that came up and I thought, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't ask why, somebody or anything like that. This person was not 30, by the way. But I just thought but I wonder what Andy thinks about this. I wonder what other people think about it because it's not something that you'd think about often. My take on it overall is really a lot of what you've said, right? So I'm not looking to hire an apprentice right now. I am kicking around hiring, but my first hire is not going to be somebody that doesn't have experience. It's going to be somebody that does have experience, that I can kind of have come in as, I don't want to throw the word partner out there in a sense, like in the true sense of the word, but more of a, I can trust you to go do this work without total supervision, which is what you would expect out of somebody that has experience in his license.
Looking for a journeyman, somebody that's self-sufficient.
Right. And I'm imagining that person to be in their 30s.
Sure.
To be honest with you, it's probably the first person I'm looking to hire is going to be likely to be of that age or even older. When it comes to apprenticeship, though, I've seen firsthand, as you have too, people of all ages excel in it.
Yeah.
I think really what it comes down to, like Bruce, the guy we weren't sure if was naked that one day, I think he did really well because his attitude is he was so happy to not be be doing something that was interesting to him and fulfilling, mentally. He was just like, this is cool. This is physical work that he was not doing prior. And so that was good for his health and everything like that. So he's seeing physical changes. He was happy about that, all that kind of stuff. That can be a huge uptick for people too. That mental attitude can be huge in their success.
Yeah.
So maybe that 30-year-old person, if they've got the right attitude, is going to be exactly the right person for your job.
Yep. I agree. I think that pursuit of happiness is a huge part of it. And if you're at 30 and you're looking at it going, hey, I'm looking for something new. I'm looking to learn a trade. I'm looking to learn a new set of skills. Do it.
I agree.
Right.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I'm there, dude. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We're coming back next week. We took a little break there for a minute. Nobody really noticed.
Yeah, it's fun.
I don't have to do any housekeeping now. I did it right at the beginning.
Yep. Hey, and by the way, these kinds of things like this, if you hit us up on that Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify. You can leave us.
Send us some fan mail. You could do it. Yep. There's a whole bunch of different ways to send us information. And we appreciate that.
I do too. We do. We do. Yeah. I'm just going to stop talking.
That's fine.
It's probably a good idea. See ya.